This video is brought to you by the Wellness Investors. The Wellness Investors are a collective of individuals with uniquely diverse backgrounds. Our goal is to inspire, motivate, and entertain. Visit thewellnessinvestors.com and start enhancing your life, one sector at a time.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Wellness Investors. When we last checked in, we were talking about anger and how that can sometimes be useful and helpful. And if you use it as motivation, ways to change your life and change other people around you, but it can more often than not be harmful. So we talked about maybe even recognizing what kind of anger style that we have and what kind of anger pattern that we live with. I want to deep dive into the different types of anger and what that can look like for some people. What we're talking about tonight real quickly is internalized anger and how internalized anger can be very unhealthy and actually very dangerous. So when we talk about internalized anger, it's when we don't have things set up in our lives and we do not have outlets for some of the negative feelings that we have inside. And it can be anger, but it can also be sadness and anxiety and all those negative feelings that aren't very fun. When we talk about internalized anger, that's when we're keeping that anger or that emotion inside and we're not finding a way to release it, whether that's through coping activity like working out or music or being creative or art or whatever it might be, or coping strategies like yoga and meditation and all those types of things, or even coping techniques. You know, it's kind of the things that you've always hear about that some people even make fun of from time to time, of like counting to 10, counting to 100, the deep breaths. Some of that stuff may sound silly and it might not sound reasonable, especially when you do get angry, but there's physiological responses in your body when you do those things to where you are able to bring yourself down to a leveled state. And when we're talking about anger, especially, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring our mind, our body to a leveled, balanced state. I talk about internalized anger as being one of the most unhealthy and harmful and dangerous, because if we keep negative emotions inside always, it starts to fester, grow, and it can become very dangerous, where you can see things like anger outburst or even self-harm or even physical violence or even negative coping like drinking and drugs. I talked last time how I have been a part of teaching a class or teaching a group for adolescents and teenagers that have found themselves at risk of either juvenile law or problems with home or problems at school. One of the examples I use, and I actually stole this from a movie, so you guys are going to make fun of me, but it's okay. I stole it from Armageddon. And if you remember Armageddon, there's this big asteroid meteor headed towards Earth, and it's going to hurt everybody, right? And they're trying to think of ways that they're going to attack it. And some of the scientists said, well, let's just shoot a nuke at it, or let's shoot missiles at it. And they said, well, it'll do some damage to the meteor, but it's not going to fully break it up like we need to. It's only going to be surface level. So the plan that they devised was actually to drill into the meteor, put a nuke down into the hole wherever the drilling, however far that the drilling into the meteor went, and then blow it up from the inside. So when they're discussing that plan as far as what to do, they use the example of an open hand and a firecracker. So if you have an open hand and you have a single shot firecracker, and so this isn't like the M80s or M90s or M1000s or whatever they are now. This is just like a single shot black cat firecracker. And if you lay it on your hand, which I wouldn't advise, by the way, but if you set it on your hand and you lit it and it went off, you probably wouldn't lose a finger. You probably wouldn't lose your hand. You probably wouldn't lose your arm, right? It would hurt. It would not too much fun, but it wouldn't cause any damage that would be life-threatening. But if you took the same hand and you took the same firecracker and you squeezed as hard as you could on the firecracker with just the wick hanging out the bottom of your hand or the top of your hand, and you lit it and the firecracker went off, then we're talking about a different type of damage. So it's the same hand, same firecracker. What changed? Well, one is the surface area, the coverage area, right? So the firecracker didn't have anywhere to go. when it blew up or when it went off, it couldn't go outward. So the coverage area, the surface area. But even more importantly was the pressure that you put on the firecracker. The pressure by squeezing it and keeping it inside of your hand. It's the same firecracker, it's the same hand, but two very different outcomes. So our emotions and our anger especially is the same way. If we're able to have an open hand, right? If we're able to talk about our feelings or find people in our lives, and maybe that's even therapists or mental health professionals, and talk about our feelings, but it can also be our friends, our family, people that are important to us in our lives, talking about our feelings, talking about our bad days, talking about our anger, discussing those things, letting that out a little bit is like opening your hand with the firecracker. The flip side of that is when you keep it in and internalized and you keep a closed hand on the firecracker, it can become very dangerous and it can become very harmful. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. When we're talking about anger, we want to find ways and we want to set up plans of actions in our life to eliminate some of this anger, to eliminate some of the stress, some of the depressive type thoughts, depressive type feelings, anxious type feelings. Now, there's no magic wand and there's nothing to fix, but we can always better our lives. And I think this is one way that we can. We need to talk about our feelings more. Now, I'm not saying you have to go on Facebook and say, hey, this is my day and Susie at work made me mad and I did all this. I'm not saying to air all your dirty laundry out, but find people in your life and be intentional about reaching out to them and talking to them. It's going to help you and it's going to build your bond with them and let them know that they're important. That's the other thing I want to mention too, is a lot of times we have these people in our lives that are really important to us and they might not even know. So let's be intentional about telling them, hey, if I'm having a bad day or if I'm having some bad thoughts or some anger built up, can I come out and reach out to you? Can I talk to you? Do you want to talk on the phone? Do you even want to text? Whatever it might be for you. Being intentional about letting them know, hey, you're important to me. You're important to me. If I need to reach out to you, if I'm having a bad day, can I do that? Sometimes we go throughout life and it's the everyday. It's the day in, day out. And we're not intentional with our actions. But self-care and action planning are some of the most important things for ourselves and for our own mental health. You know, we take physical health and we treat that very serious. If you go to the doctor and you have a broken arm, there's a plan for them to fix it. So I want you to think about that the next time you get angry. I want you to think about that the next time your emotions are maybe getting the best of you or affecting your mood in a way that's hindering some of your life. Don't be that closed hand. Find ways in your life and action planning in your life to be able to be a little bit more of the open hand, to express some of those feelings and some of those undesirable emotions that we have. It's going to help you and it's going to help the people that are very close to you. So I appreciate you tuning in and we'll catch you next time.
This video is brought to you by the Wellness Investors. The Wellness Investors are a collective of individuals with uniquely diverse backgrounds. Our goal is to inspire, motivate, and entertain. Visit thewellnessinvestors.com and start enhancing your life, one sector at a time.
Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service, and it's 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. Then you can talk to your therapist however you feel comfortable, whether it's via text, chat, phone, or video call. You can message your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions when it's convenient for you. If your therapist isn't the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist at no additional charge. With BetterHelp, You get the same professionalism and quality you expect from in-office therapy, but with a therapist who is custom picked for you, more scheduling flexibility, and at a more affordable price. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/thebarn. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/thebarn.